that being said, we are now going to enter into something called our light roast. And for those of you who don't know, our light roast is when we critique someone or something in society for some of the BS that they might be taking a part in. And we try to give some constructive feedback and criticism, but some of y'all don't deserve that. And this week, Jon Gruden, reports came out that he had some racist and homophobic email exchanges. And he is now stepping down as head coach of what is it? The Raiders, right?
Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, Las Vegas Raiders. So, T, what are we thinking about that? This has been going on for like 10 years. What do we think about that? Is it a lot? Should this be happening? Should this not be happening? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and definitely let me give some context. So Jon Gruden is just like you said, the coach. Was previously the coach for the
for
the Las Vegas Raiders, and he decided to resign on Monday after the New York Times reported on his history of misogynistic, racist, and homophobic emails. Just like you said, it dates back all the way to 2011. And this investigation started because there is an investigation into the Washington football team, that they have a toxic work culture. And so one of the people that Jon Gruden had been emailing is, what's his name? I think I had his name, but he was the president and the GM, I believe, of the Washington football team over these past years. So Jon Gruden was using his public email or his like personal email, and his friend was using his work email, like his Washington football one. So this is how they discovered all of these tweets. On Friday, the first tweet became public, and it was an email saying DeMaurice Smith. He changed his name. I think it's DeMaurice Smith, but he called him Dumb Morris Smith, and said that his lips are the size of Michelin tires. So Mr. Smith is a Black executive director of the NFL Players Association. And this came out on Friday, bro. But this blew over. I gotta admit that this blew over. People because it was 10 years ago. People felt like he shouldn't be fired for this. It was too long ago. And his response honestly was that, like, that's not what I meant. I don't have a racist bone in my body. I say that people have rubber lips when they're liars. That was his thing. And there were enough people that kind of got behind him. Either they said that he wasn't in the NFL at the time because he was an ESPN analyst, or that it was just too long ago. So I think that does bring up one question, like, is there what's the word when, like, in law, when it's over
statute of limitations?
Yeah, statute of limitations. So is there a statute of limitations on saying things like that? I guess let's open it up with that first question.
It can be. I think the statute of limitations is extremely relevant for things that you've done. So, like, if you're married with kids and it's 20 years later and you're a rapist and they take you to jail for that, I mean, what, like, hey, you raped someone, you did something that's sort of like irreversible. You like, you can learn, you can become a better person, but you still did that, and you really, traumatize someone forever. Like, you can't reverse that.
For that, yeah.
Now words can also be that harmful. You know what I'm saying? We know that words aren't weak things in and of themselves. I don't know. I think that I'm not mad that he's going. I don't think he left because he thinks he's racist or that he's even apologetic for what he did. I think that in sports, as a lot of you all know, the longer something stays in the news and the media, the more of a distraction it is for a team. And so he probably just said, you know what, I'm cool. The man is old, rich, and white. I think he'll be okay. Like, I don't have that type of, like, he knows he can, ride away into the sunset, and he'll get hired somewhere else. Because even if he was a blatant racist, like, he'll get a job in America like that easily. So there's not really, I think he might have cared about the organization enough to not want to be a distraction. But in terms of a statute of limitations on things that you say, it depends on what your goals are. Like, if you admitted to doing some horrible things, like, I killed 20 people 40 years ago. Yeah, like, nah, like, you did that. Yeah. You gotta, but for these thoughts and stuff like that, I think it gets tough because now you have to go back on everybody. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I know I've said, like, at one point, I think when I was in undergrad, someone had me believing that, like, black on black violence was a thing. And I was going on Facebook talking about it. And even back then I had friends check me, but like, if someone pulled that up now, I'd be like, well, dang, like if like we get a big show and then I go viral for something I said five,
In
6 years
2011,
ago.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, should
Mhm.
we not have our show no more? So it's a really, really tough spot.
Okay, can I add some
And
more information for you?
yes,
All right,
yes.
so that was just what happened on Friday. So that came out on Friday. People, it was an uproar, but they kind of let it go. He played and coached on Sunday. Still had his job. On Monday, it comes out that he actually hit a grand slam of offending people. He did a clean sweep of offending people, as Adam Schefter said. So it came out that he used the F slur, so that slur that is used against like the LGBT community,
Mm-hmm.
against Roger Goodell. He called him the F slur. He called him clueless and an anti-football women's parts, women's gender.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he used a number of homophobic slurs, not only to talk about Roger Goodell, but NFL owners, coaches, and reporters. He passed sexist memes of women refereeing, talking about essentially women shouldn't be referees and they're not qualified to do so in the NFL. Um, there was also just hateful language that he talked about with Caitlyn Jenner, making fun of the fact that she won the Woman of the Year award after transitioning in 2015. He criticized Roger Goodell and said that he pressured St. Louis coach to draft Michael Sam, who he referred to as the Q slur, that the LGBT community has reclaimed. Um, and then he also talked about how Eric Reed, who is the man that is he was a safety for the 49ers. He was very, very talented, but also popular for being like the right hand man to Colin Kaepernick. And essentially said, like, yeah, he should be fired. He should not be on anybody's team. And I think that again, it reminds me that Colin Kaepernick as well as Eric Reed have essentially been blackballed from the NFL, because the 1 or 2 seasons that Eric Reed did play, he set records. So it's like he was still a talented football player, but no one wanted him because they saw him as a distraction. They saw him as this black power activist. And then the final thing was that there were even emails sent around of the Washington football team's cheerleaders topless. And they were sending it through the work email and making just, again, sexist and misogynistic uh, comments. And again, this is all on the work email.
It,
So I guess, oh, what were you gonna say?
no, I mean, let's just start with the most simple thing. If he took part in sending any of that shit through email, he should be fired for his stupidity first and foremost.
Mhm,
Those
mhm.
are, not saying he per se is stupid, but that's a very dumb move, just in general. And so I can't have someone that incompetent on my team and in my organization.
Absolutely.
But I think when it comes to the statute of limitations, it's also about, yeah, maybe you said one crazy thing back in the day, but now we get into trends and patterns, and that's
Mhm,
something that we talk about on the show, right? A lot. So it's
mhm.
like, it wasn't just one thing, it was a lot of things over a given period of time. And when someone shows you consistency in something, they're usually showing you their honesty. There's truth in that consistency. You know what I'm saying? People show you who they are if you give them enough time, because they'll repeat it over and over and over and over. I love cinnamon rolls. I cook those every chance I get. I was at the doctor for my shoulder thing I thought about. I was like, where's the Cinnabon? Why? Because I eat cinnamon rolls. And like that's just who I am. I'm gonna find a way to get a cinnamon roll if there's pastries involved.
Yeah,
But if you find a way to like spread hate whenever you can, and not only spreading hate, but like spreading it through the work email, which is
yeah, like,
unprofessional,
dog, come
and
on.
sharing your thoughts, feeling safe enough to share your thoughts. So
That's
now
the
I
biggest
gotta,
part.
right. So it's like we gotta we got to look back at all these different things, all these different moments, realize that he never learned from it, realize that he never necessarily made amends for it. And the only reason that he's stepping down now is because he's been outed. You know what I'm saying? He's finally been outed. So I think when it's patterns and trends, people have a right to question like his character. Because even me, when I was talking about black on black violence, I said that stuff once and never mentioned that stuff again. Like, but it wasn't a trend of me going on Facebook saying crazy stuff. So I think that there's no proof that he's grown, and there's plenty of proof and recent proof that he still has these dangerous biases that can impact people around him. So he got to go.
Absolutely. And I think that was a great point that you made, that there's no proof that he grew. There's proof that you grown from that statement, right? I think black on black crime being a issue or a topic had a hold on people through like 2013, 2015, right? Until we got to really understand the root of black on black crime. But like it was in people's campaign speeches, right? Like, oh, we can't care about this until we care about black on black crime. But no one talked about white on white crime, Latino on Latino crime, Asian on Asian crime. They didn't contextualize it. But just like you said, like you've gone to universities and you've studied things and you've read books, like you've atoned for those things and you've changed your perspectives. There's nothing here that shows me that he's done those same things and he's been rewarded.
Right, because I'm gonna tell you, like, even this, and I didn't say anything about black on black crime within the past 3 days or the past week, because that's the thing. Because like I didn't catch it at first when you said it, but like he made these comments last Friday, like
no. This was they came out, but these were a series of emails between 2011 2018. So it's still 3 years ago.
Yes, yeah, and it's just still rough. And like these are just the things that we've caught though too, right? Because this is not even like he came out and said, "Hey, look," like, and I sort of get why you wouldn't, but like it's not like he came out and said, "Hey, look, I've grown. Like I've said some things, I've done some things." You know what I'm saying? Even with the Black Lives Matter stuff, George Floyd, you correct me if I'm wrong, T, or our audience, but like I never remember Jon Gruden saying anything, stepping up, being in support of his organization that has black bodies that help him make hundreds of millions of dollars. He never said anything. He never said, "Hey, as a white man, like, I've said some things that I'm not proud of, and like I have to look inward of myself." So now when this stuff comes out, it's like you weren't anywhere. Like even if you were saying some ally shit before, I could even be like, well, maybe he's grown, but it's like you had to get caught.
And on top of that, the Raiders was the organization that we had like roasted when they tweeted after the Derek Chauvin trial, when he was when he was found guilty. They tweeted, "I can breathe now," or something along those lines, right? So it shows you that organization was already off track. And I think that that all together talks about, to me, it shows me that there is a culture in the NFL and at other organizations, right? But this NFL, this institution specifically, that this is the problem with the lack of diversity. Now, if you look at like the people that were mentioned in these threads, it were not only was it Jon Gruden and the GM and president of operations at the Washington football team, but it was also like white business owners and owners of these major franchises and essentially power players, people with money. So it's like a old boys club, right? And then we think about how black players make up about 70% of NFL rosters. And they're our biggest stars in the NFL, but there's only about 5 black GMs. There's no black owners, like majority owners in the NFL. And there's only 3 out of 32 black coaches, knowing that there were about 7 to 9 open slots this past offseason. So that to me tells me that there is a just intrinsic problem with the NFL. Because imagine if they did have women and LGBT people in these front offices that are ingrained in their calling shots and things like that. Things like this wouldn't fly. But when you do have white men up there, that's what the patriarchy really is. And it gives them a free pass and a free reign to go go through this. So before we transition off this topic, I just want to leave y'all with a quote that I saw from the New York Times. And essentially, they said that the league can write as many anti-racist slogans in the end zones and add as many rainbows to its social media accounts as it wants, but the hypocrisy is evident in its actions and the actions of their decision makers. And I think that that really hits home, because it's like you can put in racism on the back of these helmets and you can add it to the Madden football game, and you can make the players, when they score a touchdown, do like a black power fist or take a knee. But that don't mean that like anything has fundamentally changed. Like we've said before, it's just performative.
Absolutely, absolutely, right. And yeah, we'll leave it that in that place. NFL, quit performing and start being. Um, yikes.